Well, hello, my Instacart shopping community. It's nice to have you here. I um I have something going on in my life right now that's got me doing a little reflecting on what would I do if I didn't do Instacart. And I know that the whole deal is like the gig deal, right? I don't really want to go back to having people in my car with Uber or Lyft. And I don't really feel like doing Uber Eats the way that I've done it in the past. I just love Instacart. It just kind of fits my personality, my energy level, the need for activity. It just is all a win win for me. But what would I do if I didn't have it? And I don't mean it in the negative, they've deactivated me. Oh my God, now what am I going to do? But is there something else that would suit you or suit me in an income producing sort of gig? Have you ever stepped back and thought about it? There's nothing like the freedom of gig work. There is just absolutely nothing. I'm coming from a place of being 70 and a half. And, I just can't. Well, you know how they used to say, working for the man? I just don't ever want to go back to that place where I have to report. And now at 70, I'd be reporting to somebody probably half my age and being told what to do, how to do, and all of those sort of things. I don't know if I've got that in my body anymore, that compliance with corporate stuff. How about you? Have you given that a thought? My last two paycheck jobs, one was for the police department, and I guarded the cells at the local police department in the town of Barnstable, which is kind of like the capital of Cape Cod. And I worked overnights and I had juveniles, men, and women. So I had probably a total of like 17 or 18 cells, and sometimes they were all full. And I had to check the cells every 15 minutes electronically. And I had my own office, my own bathroom, TV, radio, lounge chair, blankets. It was a great job. And they totally left me alone because most people in the police world of, being police people, I just call them policemen, but they, once the prisoners were arrested and booked and put in the cell, they really wanted nothing to do with them. Of course, I didn't either, really, if they were being testy. But it was one of my last paycheck jobs. They left me totally alone. It was it was an interesting job dealing with the prisoners, and that's when I fell. It was a year ago in March. Um, and then my other last paycheck job was working at a substance abuse treatment facility for women and children, and it was all women. There were no male staff, and it was a very interesting job. It was gut wrenching in the sense of there, but for the grace of God. These women came from, rough places. They were street smart. They were always, a mile and a half ahead of most of us as staff because they'd been there, done that, having babies from like 14 on. And so that was an interesting job. And those two jobs were my last paychecks. And along the way, I've always had gig work, places where I relied on tips, where I, had my own sort of schedule, cleaning houses, delivering newspapers, um, doing events, bartending, catering events, as well as working in bars and restaurants. And so I've had an interesting career or lifetime or decades of working in a resort community and hustling to get it all done. And so, what would I do if Instacart wasn't available for me? I do have my real estate broker's license, and I suppose I could do that. I prefer rentals over sales as because it's busy. Um, Busy with paperwork and getting things out and getting things done and people signing up to rent things. I'm also a landlady of two properties, so I understand all the details that go into it. They're year-round rentals, but with summer, how everything has to be done. And my last gig with summer rentals was it was kind of a funny long story, but my son took care of any of the heavy lifting maintenance part, and I did all the paperwork contract part, and that was great. It lasted for about 5 years, and my intention was paying off all of my school loans, which I was able to do. So that was a very helpful gig work thing. It was a summer rental only, so I had like a little bit of the shoulder season, so there was like 13 to 15 um, weeks of availability. So there was that. But then when I found Instacart over a year ago, it was pre-pandemic, and then since then it's been pandemic shopping, and it really fits what I do. And I don't know, do you feel the same way? Does it just feel like a natural kind of groove, but you never stepped back and thought about working in one of those environments again, either, an enclosed office or building or something like that, but some sort of work where you had either full-time work or shift work and you had to report to somebody, or, there was a boss. Maybe you never saw the boss, like I never saw the chief because it's midnight. But but he began doing midnights. I worked in the 80s and 90s as a matron at the police department, and he was a rookie his first year. But now he's the chief, and I never saw him as I did it. But anyway, I was glad to give up the midnight shift work. It does screw you up for the rest of the day, if any of you have done that in your journey to your gig work. So I was just wondering, have you ever thought of what you would do? What would the hustle be? And for me, it's not a side hustle because it's the job. And what would I do if I didn't have Instacart? Would I be on my feet at a cash register? Would I be hostessing in some restaurant? Would I try to be a personal shopper, privately and for hire? I can't go back to cleaning. That's a little bit too intensive. But have you ever given that a thought? I'm so attuned and just, I feel like such a party of one with the Instacart shopping. It just kind of works for me. I met another Instacart shopper yesterday. He was coming from BJ's with toilet paper and big jugs of things. And I was coming from Stop and Shop, and we both got to the customer's door at the same time. We both live in the same town. And so I said, well, I'll just see you around the Instacart community. It was funny. But I just can't see, doing anything else. I hope for my strength and mobility and agility and able to continue to do this. I'm 70. So, I'm spry for my age, but I'm certainly not, 25 spry. But I love the work. It's like, I like the task of it. And I used to always say with tough things like a tough shop, you have a tough kind of customer, tough items, it's got deli, it's got cases of water, it's got baby food. For me, sometimes the personal care aisles are like the tough ones. It's like, how many freaking Advils are there, And so, it feels good to complete the task, right? And then move on to the next order or batch. And so I think that's what I like about it. So if something is rather annoying or hard to work through, don't worry. It'll be over in a second and you'll have another opportunity, right? That's a huge part of the gig style that I like. And it's also nice when you can just stop doing it. Today I have an oil change at 1 o'clock. And so, you know, I'll stop the Instacarting in time to be able to drop my car off for the oil change and it gets done. And I don't know, you know, I think of like a doctor's appointment at, you know, at that last job that I had, the boss at the facility was not a nice lady. And she told me I had to give her a month's notice when I had a doctor's appointment. You can only imagine an oil change. And so with those sort of jobs, you had to tack life things, you know, oil changes, doctor's appointment, shopping for yourself, vet visits, all those sort of going to the bank, all those things had to come after work, you know, or on weekends when it seems like the rest of the world is also going to the bank. And the banks aren't easy these days. You have to allow a half hour in line, right, at the teller window, you know, the drive-through. So, you know, have you imagined yourself pre-gig work or post-gig work? What you would do? How entrenched or in love with this style, this freedom, this gift of gig work have you become? And would transitioning out of it be something that you would ever think of? Just curious for your thoughts. Thank you for being here. This has been Sarah with the Instacart shopping question of the day. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad you're here. I need my Instacart shopping community. I'll see you here the next time. Bye-bye for now.